Hello, beauties. This is Jonita D'souza, your Feminine Lifestylist. And I know that I have not been around for a while, um, precisely 28 days. Um, Namaste from me from India. And I have been on a 28 days of detox from the online world, and I am only returning now, catching up on all the things that has been going on. And it's already feeling overwhelming, but I really missed interacting with you all, sisters. I really missed our conversations, our presencing, our witnessing, and being here in this community. I'm really grateful for you all to be still here. If you're watching this video, then I am really grateful that you continue to check in from time to time. Yeah. Yeah. It's 28 days of detox from my online world was quite challenging. So we had our goddess circle on the 6th of September, and right after that, I had I was actually thrown into a process, another descent of the underworld. I would like to say it that way. Um, Things required tending in my personal life, and I just could not concentrate with the level of presence that I could in my online work. So I had to take this time out. Both me and my husband were in a state of extreme fatigue, um, and it required tending our emotional and mental state with much more presence than before. For those of you who already know, who've been following my journey, then you know that beginning of this year, we packed our lives from 13 years of living in London, and then we moved to India with just 2 suitcases to travel and do my retreat work here, do my women's work here while traveling in India. And the COVID happened, so guess what? We were stuck. We are still stuck in a very small island from where I come from, so not many things are. We're really separated from the mainland India even, and things are quite 18th century here. So I'm glad there is internet now, there is water, there's electricity, so I am really grateful. And the temperature has gone down. I know in the northern hemisphere we are witnessing the change of seasons, so it's a perfect time to retrieve. And we found ourselves here, and in the last 4 months we ended up building a beautiful apartment for ourselves, me and my husband, and a lot of work was literally done with these hands, laying the tiles, the paintings, the making furnitures, and all of those dirty work that goes into building a house. So that left us really tired because we were also not very accustomed to the heat here. So a lot of, and of course this is a very challenging job, not that we have done it before, so it was an experience for us, a challenge for us. So anyways, we ended up really exhausted and really literally emotionally drained. More than anything else, we were emotionally drained. Of course we were physically drained, but emotionally in a way, because it was all about figuring little things and things going wrong non-stop. And it was quite dramatic. Now when I look back, Jesus, I'm really proud of ourselves. So any which way, it required me to literally close, and I was also doing my client work, and as much as presence I could give in the online business, and my work here in this group, I was doing it, and I realized that I just couldn't go any further because I had we've literally lost weight and our body was not functioning at its optimum, and well-being is of the highest priority for us. So yeah, I took a 28 days of detox from social media and specifically from the online world, and that's hence my abrupt disappearance. Thank you so much for those of you who have sent me personal messages inquiring where the hell I am. So it made me feel really appreciative and grateful that today, as I was catching up on emails, that some people really care if I don't show my face online. So that was quite sweet. So thank you so much for being so caring and thoughtful about me. One of the things that I always advocate, specifically during these times, for these times are quite challenging for people in terms of sources of income, and specifically for entrepreneurs. I had always been, I'm an MBA graduate, and I've done all those business degrees and things like that. But more importantly, in the last few years, what was important is to not be so reliable on the government. On the government to make decisions for my happiness, and of course to a lot of extent I cannot control it, but to a large extent I can also. I didn't want to be in a corporate job and all of that, so I worked really hard to get myself out of the system. And both me and my husband, I'm so grateful to have a similar mindset in that body. Both we've been very intentionally working on developing different sorts of income streams and monetizing our different passions into how we can become financially independent. And so hence also I had to take some break from my exploring femininity business and put my energy into, what do I do with this apartment, how do I monetize this, or what else can I do while I am in this small Andaman Islands, and how I can serve the community also while making money here. So all of this was quite overwhelming, and it's still unfolding. So I'm really looking forward, maybe in a couple of months time I will be able to share much more tangible results with you in terms of that. And hence my disappearing. I'm feeling so much better than before, and I feel I'm ready to be back serving you. I might not be as active, but I will be present most of the times. And the social media kind of also overwhelmed me a lot with all this COVID thing and everything else that was happening. And even in the coaching industry, it was just filled with more informations, more webinars, more Zoom calls, more online courses, creation, content, blah, blah, blah. So it was just too much. I ended up also deleting my Instagram account. I might start it, and maybe if I start, I'll let you know. But I will keep this group specifically for exploring the various aspects of the divine feminine, and we're going to go deeper into it, because even in India right now we are going to be approaching the Navratri season, which is the worshipping of the goddess Durga and all of that. So it's quite happening, and I'm happy to witness it here and be here. Yeah. And some specific reasons that I wanted to speak and show up in a video rather than writing a post or putting that in a newsletter is because we are experiencing change of seasons. Specifically, if you're in the northern hemisphere, most of you are in this group, I know, and in here as well, we are transitioning into much cooler temperatures. And by the way, I love my swing. My husband created this beautiful swing, a day bed, so I meditate, move here in the morning, so it's quite nice now. So as we descend into the darker times of the year, it is very important that we notice the elements of our dark feminine creeping up. And the reason I say creeping up is only because we often do not give those emotions and her the value that she holds, and we try to run away from her. So one of the important things is to understand sacrifice. So as I was making the decision that day, right after our goddess circle, I had so many women write to me like, yeah, it was great, and how can I work with you more? And I signed new clients and more. They wanted to know about my program, the jade egg, and all of that. And here I was wanting to retrieve and tend my personal life. And of course, it felt like, oh my God, am I making the right decision? Because they say in the online world that if you disappear, then of course your social media following disappears. You just get lost in the noise and all of that. And it is also true to a large extent, because you have to always be creative in ideas, in ways to keep yourself out there and unique, as well as in your essence. So it's just not about being you. It's also that holds of course it is about being you and in your essence, but there is also a lot of strategy behind it and stuff. So there is a role of the masculine that comes into picture when we are doing this feminine work online. And so I was hit by this question that, am I doing the right thing by sacrificing this something that is that I'm so passionate about and that I really love, and can I just disappear, and what's going to happen to my reputation and my clients and the money that I can make and all of that, and can I really sacrifice that those desires coming true and shut down? Yeah, pretty much. I had to cancel several of my one-to-one client sessions, as well as I had quite a few podcast interviews scheduled, which I had to also cancel. So, there is always some kind of fear that kicks in when you make decisions like this. And so it's really important to understand sacrifice, the concept of sacrifice. And I talk about it a lot when we do the new moon manifestations and when we set lunar intentions, that there is this law of sacrifice. And yes, you will be challenged in your life to make sacrifices. It's not that sovereignty is not about living a life with no sacrifices. I don't believe in that. You will have to be there will be times where there will be times where you will be put into situations where you will have to make certain sacrifices, and which is why it's really important for us to understand the concept itself, the law of sacrifice, which is the law of sacrifice generally, specifically, is about giving up something that is of lower value to you in order to receive something that is of higher value to you. Yeah, so I know the patriarchy teaches us that no pain, no gain, you have to sacrifice and to succeed and things like that. But what I'm saying, the nature of sacrifice is very different, not what they have told us again. So the nature of sacrifice is pretty much, it requires, first of all, for you to truly know your desires. It requires for you to truly also know your core values. And I teach that also in my sensual lifestyle visioning kit, of understanding your core values and your core needs, and also your desires, your authentic desires. Because when you know all these three elements, then you know then you know how to make decisions based on that, and also decisions of sacrifice. So when you know your big desires, when you know your core values, and when you know your core needs, because all of us have, you need love, um, you need to be seen. That's big for me. um, in terms of values, like relationships are of highest value for me. Desires is to try new things and all of that. So these are like some of my important elements that make my essence. So it's important to know these things, and once you know these things, only then you can utilize the law of sacrifice in a manner that will serve you, that will serve your soul's evolution. So I can just talk and talk. Oh my god, how much I miss talking to you. So what I want to do, say specifically, is that as we are descending into the dark times and the change of seasons, take notice of where where and what kind of sacrifices are you making and why. Because there are, understanding sacrifices is really important, because there are two types of sacrifice. One is the sacred sacrifice, and this is the one that I've been talking about, that in order for you to receive something of your higher value, you will have to give up something that is of your lower value in that moment, in that time in life for you, because also this is not constant, it changes. So for example, when I remember that when I had eczema, and I had to stop taking sugar. I loved desserts, and I had to stop taking sugar, and I really did not know what to do about it, and I felt really tempted and tired and sad that because of this condition, I won't be able to eat the things that I like, specifically all those chocolates and things like that. So I had to give up on sugar in order to bring back my skin to health. So I had to make that choice. Yeah, of course I loved this as well, but I had to make a choice that served my core desire. And in doing that, I was shown ways of how to start creating healthy desserts, raw food desserts, sugar-free desserts in my kitchen, and treat myself with cacao and all of that. So this is just an example. When a lot of us struggle with dieting again. I also speak about my habit of waking up in the morning. So again, I had to give up something that was of lower value to me in that moment, in that time in life where I was really longing to create more time for myself before the hustle bustle of the daily life. Yeah, so you really have to evaluate what do you truly desire and what is of higher value to you, because also all of these things change, our desires change. You got to do the desire check-in. I do it every quarterly of the year, because things change, you evolve, and circumstances change. Yeah, like look around, what the hell just happened since March? Yeah. So you have to understand and take notice of where you are sacrificing in your life and why, or how you can change that story for yourself. So as I said, so one sacrifice number one, like one type is the sacred sacrifice, where you are honoring your higher values, and the second type of sacrifice is the sabotaging sacrifice, where you just have decided that I've got to do this in order to make this person happy, or in order to get that thing done. So the sabotaging sacrifices are the sacrifices that are made from a place of fear. So if I would have thought that, okay, I've had to sacrifice my online business for some time in order to make the other parts of my life work for some time, because of certain fear, then what would have happened is that I would have ended up into feeling resentful and angry, and nobody wins when you do these sabotaging sacrifices. So take notice of what sacrifice are you doing, is it a sacred sacrifice or is it a sabotaging sacrifice? And if it is a sacred sacrifice, then how can you change the story from sabotaging to sacred, so that you don't feel resentful, so you don't make these decisions out of fear. Yeah? And so I had to reevaluate, like, hold on, I need both, I desire both, but in this moment, what required most of my attention was my offline work, and my online work could have waited. Although I love showing up, I love talking about femininity. This is something that I can do in my sleep. I love holding space for women. It's just so natural to me. Everything is just harmonious. It doesn't mean that I don't want it. In that moment, I had to weigh my desires and choose one to work with. And I knew that if I chose my offline work out of fear, then I would have been really grumpy and angry and upset on my husband or people around me, and I would have played the blame game that because of this now I'm struggling with this, and had to make these kind of choices. You see, I hope you get what I'm sharing. Please let me know in the comments. Share with me if you understand what sabotaging sacrifice means. Yeah, when you make decisions based on fear rather than choosing your desired. And also share with me if this is making sense to you, because this is foundational right now. We have every day is a change. Day is a change. Every day is full of changes. So we've got to be really careful on how we are navigating these times of change whilst not going into fear or resentment. And which also leads me to something of understanding fear. Yeah, when you feel the fear, when you feel like you are making a sacrifice because of certain kind of fear that is coming up for you, I invite you to analyze. Yeah, analyze your fear, because generally fear is also of like 3 types. And you see, whilst I was away, I was kind of creating all these research and making notes of it. So being away also led me to understand a lot of things much more deeply and beautifully, ecstatically, joyful and painful at the same time. So understanding fear. So fear is also of 3 types. So one is when you feel fear, then analyze what kind of fear is this. Usually one of the types is that when you fear the loss of a person. So when you think that if I do this, then I'll lose that person. So that's loss of a person. Another type of fear is the fear of the process. You fear because if you put yourself into the situation, you don't know how to deal with it. So you don't know how to deal with the situation, the process itself. So we fear even going into it. And another type of fear is the fear of outcome, where you are already creating an imaginary story in your head that, oh my God, if I don't do this, or if I do this, then this will happen. So catch yourself in your dialogues with fear. I like to dialogue with fear very well, very much, because it gives me an indication of where am I creating stories that are just imaginary or that is not true for my essence. Yeah, so also, many of you are into this work because you want to step into your soul's highest level, your evolutionary pathway, your sacred feminine leadership. And I want to remind you that when you are claiming new levels of being, then you will be called into clearing clearing into new levels as well, of new levels as well. So your releasing and clearing will be also of different levels. So do not be afraid of that. So as again, taking my example, I knew that I have to just go through this process. All of this fear were valid or not, but I just don't know. I just decided to go into it and not make these stories true for myself, and rather experience it. Stop in making imaginary stories, but rather experience it for myself, knowing that I hold 100% responsibility for creating what I desire in my life. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. I didn't realize I will be speaking for this long. Please share with me how this landed with you, if there is any resonance. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for also sharing what you will be sharing, because it's really important that we have these conversations as we go into the darker times of the year. One of the things that is coming up for me is to share a process of loving your dark feminine, and I would like to share that process with you. So let me know if you will be interested, and I will arrange a class. Probably that will be in Zoom, free of cost, obviously, or on Facebook or on YouTube. I will see where that will land well, and I will share with you a beautiful process where you can come home to your dark feminine emotions and rest in her with surrender, acceptance, as well as strength. Yeah. So, thank you so much for listening. Should I show you around? Let's see. So, this is my terrace here, and I've been doing a little bit of gardening here. I will show you the rest when things are much more nicer looking and cleaner. So, for now, blessings, sisters.